Hey friends, I uploaded this video on my 50th birthday. Leave me a comment and let me know how old you are today. The way we keep track of our age made me ponder other things we measure on the homestead. One of the most important things you need to measure is rain. A simple rain gauge can tell you the amount of rain you get so you know whether to water your garden or not. So today, I'm going to show you how to make your own accurate rain gauge out of simple materials everyone has on hand. So let's dig in. Now you can buy a simple rain gauge for pretty cheap, but I like to know how to do things myself. And building your own rain gauge is simple and kind of fun. You're going to need a container with straight sides and a flat bottom. Just like on this rain gauge that I bought from Lowe's, you can see how the sides are perfectly straight and parallel and the bottom is flat. So it doesn't have to be skinny like this. It can be a wide container, just like this mason jar. And mason jar, especially a wide mouth mason jar like this, look how straight and parallel the sides are. And the bottom, although it's not absolutely flat, it's pretty close. So there's a little bit of a curve there on the edge, but for the most part, it's going to be pretty flat, and that's going to make a good, accurate jar. You could use other containers as well, anything that's got relatively straight sides and a relatively flat bottom. You don't want something that has tapered sides like this glass. It's more narrow at the bottom and wider at the top. Well, that's going to throw off your accuracy. You could use a plastic bottle like this too. There's a couple of problems with this. You can cut off the top, and that's going to get rid of that that neck and give you a nice wide opening. But there's a couple problems. The problem is that the bottom is not flat. This has cutouts molded into the bottom. Also, the bottle has a curve to it, and that's going to throw off the accuracy. The other problem with the bottle is that it's very light, and wind is going to blow it over. And so if you use something like this, you'd like to glue it to something heavy to hold it down. Same issue with the bigger bottle like this. You could use this, you could cut off the neck, but the problem is it's curved, and the bottom, as you can see, is not flat, and that's going to throw off the accuracy. You could fill in that bottom with something solid, like maybe some acrylic or some epoxy, and just fill it up until you get to here, and then it would be a flat bottom. But a wide mouth mason jar like this is going to work great. It should be at least 5 inches tall to collect up to 5 inches of rain at a time. Second, you're going to need a ruler. I was going to use this ruler, but the letters on it, or the numbers on it, are kind of small, and that's going to make it harder to read. It'll work just fine, but it's clear, and the numbers are smaller. I decided I would use this instead. So that's going to make it easier to read. And less lines on it. We don't really need to be that accurate. It's in that many lines. So this will be just fine. And then we're going to need some kind of a glue to glue this to the jar. I'm going to try to use clear silicone because it's going to be waterproof, and so it'll hold this to the jar even when water is filling it up. We'll see if I can use it or not. This is pretty old, and the glue is all dried up inside. That's why I punched a hole in it, see if I can get a little bit of glue out of it. James 1:17 says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. We're not in control of the rain. God chooses when to send it and how much to send. But the rain gauge helps us to measure it. How do you measure the blessings that God gives us? You've got to pay attention. If you're not intentionally making yourself aware of the good things that God is doing for you, you're going to miss out on them. And you're also going to miss out on the joy and the peace that you find when you know that God is blessing you. And there's some simple ways that you could measure the blessings that God has so that you increase your joy and your peace, and you can be thankful. One of the old hymns that we sing in church says, "Count your many blessings, name them one by one." Here's a simple thing you can do. Make a rain gauge for the blessings God pours out in your life. Now, how would you do that? Get a jar. Get some pieces of paper. Every time you think of something that God has done that is good for you, every time you think of a blessing in your life, write it down on a piece of paper. Put it in the jar. And periodically check your blessings gauge. Pull those pieces of paper out and read them one by one and remember all that God has done for you. It's as simple as that. It's a simple thing, but it can make a real difference in your life, helping you to feel blessed and helping you to be closer to God, feeling the joy that comes when we know God is blessing us, and the peace of knowing we can count on Him to take care of us. I've had a lot of blessings in my 50 years of life, and I haven't always done a good job of keeping track of them. And when I haven't, I missed out. But I'm going to try to do better at naming my blessings, keeping track of them with my blessings gauge, just like I keep track of how much rain I get with my rain gauge. I hope that you'll do that too. What are some other things that you measure in your garden besides the rain? Leave me a comment and let me know. And tell me one blessing that God has done for you this month. And then let's get out there and let's grow and be fruitful.